I know that some of y'all had already put some questions in the ask questions section. And the last time I checked, the top question was, how are you doing? How are you doing? And, that's a hard question to answer because how I'm doing changes. If you've ever been in a situation where you've experienced a lot of pain, um, whether it's because someone you loved passed away or someone you loved left, or you had a health crisis, or uh, it could be any number of things. Pain comes in all sizes, shapes, and forms. You'll understand that how you feel about that thing changes. It morphs. It may grow, it may ebb, it may flow. And what I've learned from past painful situations is that the best thing to do is feel your way through, and that there is really and truly often no other way out but through. So that's what I'm doing. That's what we're all doing. I am a compartmentalizer, so I'm kind of an extreme person, but I'm trying to do a better job of that. And as I move through the grocery store line, if something I see reminds me of my mom and my tears well up, to just let them fall, I can keep going and have a feeling moment at the same time. So that's a learning experience for me. But I wanted to be honest about how I feel. So I do have words. I have words because I had to think about them in advance. I wouldn't fumble my way through this, right? I have 3 words, 3 plus an extra one. So if I had to describe, and I've said this to friends, if I had to describe how I feel, the first emotion would be disappointment. Disappointing. It's disappointing when you're hoping and then what you're hoping for doesn't happen. So I'd be lying if I didn't say I was disappointed. And as much as we can talk about and believe that God ultimately knows what he's doing, doesn't mean that we're not disappointed if he doesn't do what we ask him to do. So there is that. And I'm disappointed because I've heard my mother say a million times, not just in this last year, like for a long time. She always said, my goal is to live longer than my mother. And my grandmother lived until she was 97. So to know that that was a desire of hers, that we heard her share, that's disappointing, because I know that that's something that she wanted and she told us. So it's disappointing for me and disappointing for her. The second emotion I would share, I've been trying to find one word that could substitute for the word anger. Because angry sounds red, it sounds hot, it sounds, closed-fisted, and that's not quite the temperature of what I'm talking about. And so for that one word, I had a few others: upset, irritated, annoyed, bothered. There's just this ugh. That's the best way that I can think of to express it, where it's just beyond disappointment and the letdown, kind of I can't even believe this. I can't even believe this. And I'm sure that you've had those moments too, where there's something that's happened in your life and you just are having a hard time reconciling that what you're facing is what you're really having to face. And it's almost irritating. It's just, I don't know if that makes sense to you, but those are the words. That's feeling number 1 and feeling number 2. A distant third is sadness. And of course, I'm very, very sad. But I say distant third is because every time I start to feel sadness, my sadness is met with satisfaction. Let me give you an example. If I think for a second, like today, y'all, I took a picture of She's Still There, the book I wrote, because it's been translated into Dutch. So I took a picture of it, and my knee-jerk reaction was to send it to my mom. And obviously, in the middle of doing that, I was like, okay. So I have a text group with my brother brothers and my sister, and I sent it to them. And I said, look, and I said, I had a moment because I was going to send it to mommy. And then I was like, oh, so, but in that moment where I met with sadness and the thought that, wow, like she's not going to see my text, in that moment, I met with the satisfaction that she was here when She's Still There was released. She was very proud of that. On my mother's mantle, on the fireplace mantle in the living room, are great accomplishments of her children. We all have something major. There are 4 major things on her mantle. And she took the cover of the book, because I'd blown up the cover of the book when I had the book release party. She said, give me that. And she took it and she framed it. So there's this huge, huge picture of the book in a frame on her mantle. Priscilla in War Room, that's in a frame. Anthony's album going, I don't know, gold, platinum, something is framed and on her mantle. Jonathan's stuff. I mean, she treasured us, told us so, and visibly represented how her pride for us in her home, on her face, and with her words. So in the same moment that I thought, what? I don't get to send her this. In the very same moment, I was like, but she was here. She was here for it. And in 70 years, my mom was here for a lot because she lived. She lived. She was here for the birth of my first child and then all the rest of them. She was here for the birth of her first great-grandchild and the second. She was here. And every time I think of something I want more of, I think of something I've already had. So even if I'm not trying to be grateful, because you're supposed to try to be grateful, I'm going to be grateful for, even if I'm not trying to be grateful, I can't help it. Because there's so many things that even in 70 years, my mom got to do, got to be here for, and got to experience for herself and with me. So yes, I'm disappointed. Yes, I'm some combination of upset, irritated, annoyed, and bothered. Not quite angry, but something in that vicinity. Yes, I'm sad. But there's also a very deep contentment and satisfaction that I feel. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that. Do I have questions? Yes, I do. Do I have answers for all of those questions? No, I do not. We started studying David at church. So I taught that last night, kind of David's early years. And one of the things that I was reminded of and comforted by is that many of the Psalms were written by David when he was feeling all the things and him expressing all the things. His anger, his disappointment, his frustration, his worries, his fears, his questions did not disqualify him from being a man after God's own heart. And I hold on to that because I say, well, if David was a man after your own heart, then, and he had all the questions and was honest, then you can handle my honesty. And God and I have been for different reasons in this place before. So there's wrestling. But I don't want that to get in the way. In fact, I will not let that get in the way of me living. And one of the things my mom said to all of us when she first got sick is, if in any way this is a ploy of the enemy to distract y'all from doing what you're supposed to be doing, he can't win. He can't win. So, see me compartmentalizing? So, I want you to know that me doing Coffee with Crystal and sharing some things with you tonight is also me being responsible and honoring my mom. Because even when we did the Sister Circle retreat and I was trying to figure out, okay, we just launched it and we talked about it, people are registering, what do I do? My mom just told me she's sick. She looked at me and she said, move forward. So even tonight, I'm moving forward.